Danny here, DD Speed Shop, and today we are actually in America. We are in the US of A because, honestly, I'm so happy today. Like, I'm so happy because my baby's coming home. Newbern was the kindest person and stored it, made sure it was ready to go out of the trailer for us. So what we're doing actually is we're bringing it from the US, so just across the border, back home to our house. So it started. Dan had to remember how to start it. But here she is in all her glory. And she's coming home. Oh man, I'm excited.
Dan here, DD Speed Shop. Or did you already start this
I started it.
magnificent video?
Yes.
So, it's the next day. We actually picked up Danny's fine car. And it is her car. I mean, she did pay for it, did all the work to it, built in a hurry. Oh, she traveled down the States for the vacation, didn't just fly down there. Oh, and then she paid to have it shipped back home. Oh, wait.
Hey, I did all the arrangements for that.
You did send an email. So,
and phone calls and blah blah blah. That was a hassle.
So this is actually a really cool car, and you know what? It's really coming to its own there with a level of greasiness, which I really enjoy. So it's a '64 Chevy 2. Yeah, Newbern really Newberned this. So plans kind of fell short on this car. Just a scotch. We drove this thing down to Biloxi, Mississippi for Cruise on the Coast last October.
It's a really cute dog.
And we left it down there.
Because we were going to
Fly back down. So we went down there and we left it at Newbern's place in Atlanta. And our plan was to kind of fly back down to Atlanta for a power tour this year. Because, I mean, I don't know where it was exactly, but we were going to kind of fly down, meet him, go on a cruise, and then drive it back in July. Well, life went sideways. I mean, when you're moving across the pond, you got to get stuff kind of dealt with. So anyways, the car kind of sat, and then as it turns out, as a Canadian, you can only have a car in the United States of America for 1 year, and we were coming up on that date, so we had to get it back. And then since we're out of here right away, we didn't have time to fly down, get it, and drive it back. Well, ultimately, I guess we could have, but the reality was the cost to ship it was the same or even cheaper. What are all these come on, Newbern. We paid you no money. This is how you treat the thing? But ultimately, if we were going to fly down, to fly down to Georgia, and then drive the thing back, we'd just be cannonballing it back with no real fun, no event.
It also had to be home in time for us to ship it across the pond.
Yes, that's correct. It's going from one shipment to a boat. So we had to get this thing back in a hurry, so we just kind of paid. It was whatever. So it showed up at the border yesterday, and then we drove through the border, got a pile of attitude in our native land, because they don't get the humor for some reason. The lady at the border was not my friend, but it's home now, and we can enjoy it, bugs, for a short amount of time. So
and we did enjoy it already.
Yeah, yesterday we drove it, and here it is. So it's a '64 Chevy 2, and when I bought this thing, I bought it, I think I paid $5,000 for it.
Too much money.
As it was a 6-cylinder automatic, 2-door post, nothing special. I had no plans for it. I just thought it was a really solid, original, nice car. What are you doing with stickers there? Oh.
I want to put my Vibrola sticker on it.
So, I just kind of bought it because, I mean, in my mind, $5,000 for this. I didn't do any rust repair of this thing. I think maybe the one quarter panel on the other side I welded a little patch in. Yeah, welded a little bit down there. And then it had something fall on it, so me and Merz pushed this out with the Porta Power. It's had one repaint. I think I put a floor pan in the passenger side, just a half pan maybe, and that was it. The trim was all ripped off when I got it. I had to put I put a windshield in it, maybe a back window. That doesn't look, no, that's not new. We put a piece of glass in it. Or maybe we put two, it came with one, I forget. But anyways, that was it. It was a 6-cylinder Power Glide. It was nothing special. We got it home, got it running. I rebuilt the front end, stock stuff, did a little bit of rust repair, made all the lights work. It was just bare bones drum brakes. And it passed inspection and it was on the road, and that was it. And then, like an idiot, I started looking around, and Speedway had built a similar car, a later model, 66 or 7, Chevy 2 gasser, and as it turns out, they sell all the stuff to just bolt together gasser kit. So I was like, well, that'd be kind of cool, and it looks neat. It's a post car, it's a base model, this is what you would have done. And then I'm looking, and of course I show a picture to Dannie, and she's like, I like that. And I was like,
want it.
Yeah, and ultimately, that's what we ended up with. So we put it together. Now, before anyone bitches and moans it's got rust on it, that was kind of the plan when we put it together. So my favorite look of a car is something that was built in the 60s, 70s, was used, abused, and then put away in a garage, and then like forgot about for 30 years, and then brought out. And that's, I think, what we kind of accomplished here, which is what I enjoy. I know it's not for everybody. We bought all this brand new stuff and then just destroy it. But we had it lettered up by our good buddy Joe, traveling sign painter. So again, we named it Nova Priced and had some burning money on it, which I think he just knocked out of the park, because again, everyone thought that we paid just a ludicrous amount of money for this thing, and then we put a few mortgage payments into it to really seal the deal. So that was that. Ultimately, we probably put, like, the motor was kind of expensive, but there's probably another 10 or 15 grand put in this thing over and above that. So we're probably into this thing for $15,000 to $20,000. It's not a cheap car, but it's very cool, and I really like it. And further to that, before everyone jumps on my throat with how much money we've wasted on this thing, we put miles on it, and we enjoyed it, we tested it, and really it just needs basic maintenance now, and we can enjoy it. So we bought the gasser kit, and people have asked about this gasser kit a bunch of times. Go to the Speedway website. There's a few different options. We bought, I'm going to say, the cheaper version of it. There's like just the absolute base model, and then there's this. Maybe I'm exaggerating the pricing. I should really think about that. And we're also talking Canadian dollars, not American, bald eagle bucks.
And soon it'll be euros.
I thought they were Deutschmarks. So I think the kit was like $2,500, and that was the straight axle, the front frame rails, and the brakes, I think, and spindles, and it's got Chevy spindles and all that sort of stuff on it, and maybe the steering box, I forget. Let's say it's $3,000. Yeah, we don't have that much money in this thing. I was way out to lunch. So we did that. So $5 grand for the car, $3 grand for the front end maybe. And, so the deluxe kit comes with these side pieces, these down bars, all that sort of stuff. So we did all that. That was cool. I bought a 9-inch for it, which was kind of pricey. But again, I mean, the stock rear end was probably not going to handle it. Because Aunt Dannie was like, here's what happened. Let's go back. So I built this thing in August. And meanwhile, in June, we were at Power Tour. And Dannie was talking to Alex Taylor. And then she goes, I'd like to do drag week. And I go, all right, what are we going to do drag weekend? So then we were looking at the Chevy 2, then I showed her what a gasser Chevy 2 looks like. She's like, I want to drag week in Chevy 2. I said, okay. So here we are. So we already had the car, so I saved money.
Listen, a man loves a woman, he builds her a gasser.
Yeah, there you go. So we did that. So the front end was that. The rear end was probably $2,500, something like that. Put that in there. I did some maintenance stuff. I put new leaf springs in it. But, I mean, again, metal-wise, it wasn't bad. And at that point, when we did the rear end, we also did all the brakes, front and back. So we're into that. The motor I had built, so this was, I think it's the first motor we had John Cecil actually build us.
Yeah.
So I wanted this to be old school, so that's what they did. They built us a solid lifter, 327. It's nothing crazy. I'm going to say 375, 400 horse kind of deal. Like, it sounds phenomenal though.
my favorite part is, so when we got this motor and you were putting the test miles on it, my job was actually on strike. So I was walking a picket line every day, and every day while Dan was doing test miles, all of a sudden, just this loud, obnoxious thing comes ripping in front of us, and everybody's always like, "Whoa, what's that guy up to? What's he doing?" I'm like, "That's mine."
Who's that idiot? So yeah, so we did that. So John and Cecil put the motor together, so that was a few bucks as well. I mean, no bones about that, but it's all brand new. And I have learned, especially with the miles we put on this thing, spend a few bucks. Like, we could have put a junkyard motor in this thing, we could have done all that stuff, but, you know, whatever, spend the money. The transmission, the local speed shop here, they sell rebuilt transmissions. I think it was, I think there's a core charge, 800,000 bucks, something like that, brand new. I just put a stall converter hat in it, which is not that. So originally we were going to kind of make it racier and put the gear vendor in it. Unfortunately, the gear vendor just didn't show up in time. We didn't have enough time, so I panic ordered a 3.0 rear gear for it. So it's 327 turbo 350 with a mediocre stall at best.
And that's the gear vendor that has now ended up in the 55.
Yeah, which is in my car. So that worked out good. And yeah, and then just a 9-inch with 3.0 gear. So it cruises down the highway like, you know, 3,000 RPM. It just buzzes. It's happy. I'm going to pull the valve card. This is a solid lifter motor, and it has had zero maintenance. Like, I think I put it together. We maybe had a week of driving. And then same thing, we had it running with a single 4-barrel, and then like 3 days before we left, we're on these dual FSTs. So these are like fancy double pumper, like the whole deal. I think they're 600, maybe they're 650s even, I don't know. A lot of carburetor. Slapped her together, and I hit the road solo, I might add. Danny flew in.
Had to.
Didn't want to go.
Why didn't I do the drive? Because I was still on strike. I wasn't working.
So anyways, I hopped in this.
For the dogs, so that I could be with the dogs longer.
I hopped in this thing and drove Winnipeg to Atlanta, which I believe was 1,500 miles. Over 2 days, so 750 miles a day, and really no issues. So yeah, so there was some money spent on the motor. Panic last minute, like the day before we left, I had ordered this Delta PAG radiator with dual fans and all that, because I was obsessed with not overheating. So that's a big ticket item as well, I'm not gonna lie. These are things that you don't have to spend the money on, but if you want to road trip it, and
well, you learned from the Nomad that this just like erased all worries.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see how I installed it. There's a little bit of a last minute situation there. I didn't look at all those washers I put in there. But I'm pretty sure it's on its own relays or something. Something happened there. So yeah. Now when John built this motor, ooh, she's had some moisture in it. Maybe don't show that to John, he'll have a fit. So we got to run the valves on. I mean, that's just from sitting. That's what are you going to do? Get some water in it. I checked the oil, it was good, so there's no issues there. We did an oil change on it right before we stored it, actually. So that's just a little condensation. But it's got like big block studs in it, and then it's got, so we got to adjust the rackers. Well, I mean, that being said, this thing sounds good, had lots of power, had a good idle. There's no issues. So yeah, maybe we're not that bad in this thing. We spent money on the motor, we spent some money on the cooling system, which I'm a believer in anyways. So, and you know what, we could have cheaped out and made it to Nebraska, had the thing take a crap, and then, you know, I'm buying another motor, who knows what I'm doing along the way. So from a maintenance standpoint, it just did awesome. The intake manifold I had kicking around, so the carburetors are a few bucks, you know, the motor was money. These headers, actually I bought off a buddy, they're junk welded together. I had to do all sorts of stuff to them. Distributor I just had kicking around, looks like a cheap Chinese one. And I mean, that's about it. So maybe, I mean, you could cheap out and do this thing for 10 grand, I guess. Interior wise is like bone stock, other than it looks like I had a shifter, but I didn't have the cover for it. We did put these, this is the first time I tried these seats, and they're actually pretty good. You want to get that? They're super comfy, they work good. These are what, Pro Cars. These are, I did, so basically when the Speedway order was coming, we just kind of hit it. So I did all that. No headliner, that's not like me. So yeah, it's just kind of a cool generic car. The tires I got used, I mean, off a guy, steel wheels in the back. Now it's like everything is just kind of bare bones. Those are, yeah, just some Nittos. Actually, they're the first that I ever had. While it was down there, so this is the Bricklin hood. So when I was headed down to Atlanta, I stopped by Vice Grips because he had the hood.
Because a few weeks before, somebody found it in a gas station or something.
So I guess Vice Grips, when he was doing the Bricklin video, the thing was overheating. He was obviously over it, took the hood off, left it somewhere in Florida. Someone in Florida found the hood, brought it to him in Tennessee. So I drove to Tennessee to get it, and then drove it to Atlanta, thinking, oh yeah, we'll bring it back at some point. So this hood has had a lot of miles on it on the roof of that Chevy too. But it made it back, and now we're actually going to go deliver it to Murr after we run the valves on this thing, just give it a kind of a once over. Yeah, so it's all rusty now, and it's kind of coming to its own, which I really like. It super suits what it is. So now we've had the talk with Dannie. What does she want to do with it? And I mean, you guys can, I guess, feel free to leave some comments in the comment section, but it's a bit of a poser hot rod right now. It sounds phenomenal. Like this thing has my favorite. It's got 3-inch thrush mufflers. I mean, solid lifter, 327. It's just magnifique. It sounds so good. But it's not very fast. I mean, it could be. I think it could be actually a car that we wouldn't be embarrassed by. I mean, if we it needs a real crazy gear, like a 488 or something like that rear gear. It needs a heck of a lot more converter. And this motor will turn, I mean, I don't know, 7,000 RPM. But it's great on the highway. It starts easy. It runs good. Tranny shift's nice. I mean, disc brakes in the front, drums in the back. It's just a real simple deal, but it works. It still has the original wiring harness in it, I believe. Like, it's super, super duper, you know, of the era. We cut the hood open and all that stuff. We got that after we stopped by on the way down to at Speedway Motors, you know, kind of show this thing off and get a little tour of the museum, which we want to go back to. They gave Dannie that scoop actually as a little birthday present because it was over her birthday weekend. And it's just a neat little car. So let's pull the valve covers. We'll run the valves right quick. We drove this thing, oh, probably 100 miles already because the border's an hour and a half, 2 hours from our house. And then we got home, went to dinner at the other side of town, and then back. So it's fine. It runs, it charges, the lights work, it started. I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. It is the end of the season, but we'd like to put just a few miles on it, give it a little bit of a once over, and yeah, go from there. It's cool.
Have it ready for a shipping crate.
For the Denmark Derby.
I was trying to think of what yes in Denmark would be.
Guten Tag.
Yes?
But there you go. So, I mean, again, this was the classic. When I got this car, we got nothing but attitude about A, how much I spent on it. B, you can't drive a solid lifter, tunnel ram, blah, 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 blah. All these things of what you can't do in an old car. And this thing did it easily. I mean, it drove all the way down to Atlanta, then it drove from Atlanta to Biloxi, Mississippi, which is probably maybe, I don't know, 5 hours.
And then up and down.
Well, I might add David Newburn trailered. Whatever. To each their own. You know what? I'm only going to give David Newburn a hard time about trailering because every time I call him, he's stopped answering. But Danielle texts him, and I swear she's like, "What's up, David?" Send whoop, and it's right back.
Me
it's
and
like
David are besties.
he's waiting for her. Might rain here right away. But this is the classic. Just put it together. You know, put it together quality parts. You know, or what you can afford, and drive the thing. They're meant to be driven. They're meant to be beat on. They're meant to be whatever. And if they break, fix it. I mean,
people have been driving this car since the 64.
1964. The alternator bracket is straight off of eBay. It looks like it's just got some generic. I didn't even paint the water pump. Just slapped it on there. Like, it's just, you know, camel hump heads. It's got your generic stuff of the day. And guess what? It works. There you go. So we'll pull the valve covers. We'll get Dannie in there. We'll run these valves right quick. Man, everything, like Georgia, it's crazy. Like, it's like, everything's turned like green.
It's like algae.
Yeah. I thought the South was good for cars, but I look at how this thing flash rusted. It wouldn't have got this rusty sitting here all winter. Oh well. It looks cool. I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world. But for $27,000.
It's not for sale.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna run some valves here. I don't think I did any maintenance to this thing since it was literally put together. We didn't dyno this one or anything.
Button on?
No, we're just gonna bump it over. It's rolling the motor. So it's dead cold, so we can kind of set them tight or loose or whatever you want to call it. Hit it. Again. Again. Okay. So, yeah, they're a little on the loose side, which I'm not shocked. This thing was literally put together, run on the run stand, and then, oh, it's got big studs. They need a different ranch. And then, like, yeah, literally put 3,000 miles on it with one oil change. It's like a testament to, is this even the right size, or did I grab the wrong one yet again? I'll get there one of these days. I think I found where all my tools are. There's all sorts of good stuff in this car for tools. It's actually a really good deal. Okay. What we got going on here? So we just did this on the 55, but basically we're gonna kind of snug them up. Actually, I kind of nailed that one right there, but tighten that. Then we want kind of a little, that might be a little tight. These rockers have got a little bit of play in them, kind of side to side, so you got to line up everything right perfect. But I'm thinking if I probably just guess a little bit here, be fine. What is going on here? Oh, did I make it way too tight here? Danielle?
What?
I'm struggling. It's not like me. Also, we're not following any of the John instructions. My favorite part is the video where we set the valves in the 55 probably isn't out yet. And so John hasn't been able to judge yet. He's going to tell me, you did it wrong. Which he is not wrong, he is correct. And here we are, we're going to do it wrong again on this thing. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and put in a bigger feeler. Tighten that up. Pop that out. Ooh, there's a pile of water. Actually, it rained like crazy here last night. And Danny didn't even go out and...
Hey, I said should be, and you're like, no, it's fine.
No, you said that in the morning.
Yeah.
After it rained, I said, well, I guess it's probably fine. That's how that went down. Let's not play the blame game there.
Last night? Oh no, I was sleeping when it rained. That makes more sense.
That's pretty good. Yeah, maybe we'll just give her a little. I was sleeping when it rained, she says. Oh yeah. That's what we want. Okay, above it. Again. Mint. I'm not gonna lie, these are all probably gonna... yeah. Close. So we'll just run these down right quick. And then we can hear it run. Which is always fun. This thing starts pretty good. It runs on the rich side, so you know it's mint. And then we're gonna run that bricklin hood over to MERS. I don't even think there's a whole lot of other maintenance we got to do to this thing, eh?
Nope, just I want to drive it to Pilates.
Oh, right. That's the top priority of the day. Make sure it'll make it to Pilates.
Yeah.
Pilates?
Pilates.
Okay. Perfect. So we'll keep doing those and putting it all back together. But you gotta get some other valve covers. These ones are kind of chintz junkies. We need something that's been like dragged around the ground or broken or like real crappy, you know? It's amazing how all these parts were brand new less than a year ago. And look how shitty this thing looks now. The only thing that still shines up is the Delta Rad, eh? Everything else,
Well, I
garbage. Actually, the hood scoop did pretty well, but I think Dave put a bag on it.
Oh yeah, they put the pink Miata scoop on it.
Other than that, junk. Okay, so we got it all back together-ish. So I mean, it's it's dead cold to the touch. I put a few new vacuum caps on just because the other one. These things I find like they last a year and just crack and go to crap. Those valve covers are kind of boring. So this thing, like I said, dead cold, tunnel ram, dual quad, zero provision for choke or anything like that. Woman started. Can it be? Okay, so flip the switch, give it a couple of pumps, and see if it'll go. Kind of hold it half throttle and crank it. You're gonna have to kind of feather it a little bit to keep it running. Well, the kid doesn't need all that gas. Come on. Once it's running, just kind of give it a...
In my flops, I can't. It's hard to do in my flops.
It's always flopping. It's always flopping something. There you go. So you got to kind of feather it while, give it a little more gas. You're not giving any gas. Why would you not be giving it? Okay, hang on. Let's take a minute here. So I say give it gas, it's when it's running. When it stalls and then you just start giving it gas, that in fact floods it. So now you're in a situation where the car has probably got too much gas, so give it like a little bit of throttle, just a little bit, and crank it. There you go. Now just give it a little, just like there. And everyone's happy. This thing sounds so good. It's too bad it's probably blowing out the microphones here, but we'll let this thing warm up a little bit. Oh, yeah, look at all this stuff. I brought a intake manifold in case I gave up on the tunnel ram. Nice floor jacks, brand new alternator, brand new starter. All sorts of good stuff. Oh yeah, we had these with it originally. Oil, coolant, spare tire. What is this? Oh, $2.35, we could use that on something. And then, oh, here are my jets. I just ordered some new ones. Miscellaneous stuff. Probably change the fuel filter while we're at it. Yeah. That thing's badass. Oh, the gauge is working?
Yeah.
That can't be right. There's no way it's just no. It should be moving around. There's something not happy with it. Yeah, tap the electronic gauge.
I've seen you do that plenty of times, mister.
Only on mechanicals. Go it idle now? Oh, there you go. So, let it warm up a little bit. We gotta strap that hood on. Give it to Murr. Fancy little delivery. I'll clean my tools off and we'll let her go. Okay, so we got the bricklin hood on. This blanket does say not for long-term storage. It was not wrong. It did not like the 90 mile an hour down the road. So you're gonna drop that merge real quick. He's got one strap on it, but he's literally just down the road. You know what? This is not a paid sponsorship or anything like that, but the Delta guy, Delta John, I say it every time, and I always forget. And this car, so we built it in such a hurry, and the radiator literally showed up the day before we left. Like the day, I left. Put it in, and it just worked perfectly. And no bones about it, this is like a custom-made deal. And he rushed to get it out, and it was panic and all these things. And I just, it went on. It was kind of over in a flash. And I just, again, really appreciate that guy. And this thing ran cool. There was no issues. And that Mississippi heat was unbelievable. Bumper to bumper traffic.
We've never been, even in power tour, I don't think we've
never been like that. The thing with that camshaft just for hours and hours and hours. So, I mean, a testament to John Cecil and the motor, obviously. The cooling system, all that sort of stuff. The carburetors, everything just worked out. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this thing was pressure tested. I used to have, not that I have a lot of mechanical sympathy for things. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But, I mean, this car, the black Nomad, my 55 now, you put the miles on, you go, you beat on it. if it just works and you go through a trip like that, this thing now, like, you know, Danny wants to drive anywhere she wants, drive to the coast. I don't care. It'll make it. And if it doesn't, it's something that just was going to happen anyways. It's not like it was a laziness thing or a bad part or any of that. Take me to my father's. Wow. This is how he treats a son to father gift. Imported and everything. So this is Merce Fine Bricklin. He's actually been doing a fair bit of work on it. He's not home right now, I guess. But we're just going to go ahead and put the hood on it. Tarp it all back up and leave and see if he... You know what's going to happen? He's going to text, where's my hood? This and that. Give an attitude. So that's the kind of guy he is. Unthankful. Alright. See, this thing looks kind of cool, the hood on it. Oh, he made a headlight door for it. Look at that. Painted it white and everything.
Oh, that looks great.
So, oh, it actually has the, those in there. All the nut shirts are all missing, but that's probably fine. Mer can fix that. He's got lots of time on his hands. He hasn't washed this thing yet. He was talking about it, but I think he's got it kind of running decent. And he's been doing a little bit of work to the doors and all sorts of stuff there.
Tinkering.
Look at that. I still think it would have been funny if we would have cut this thing into fours and brought it back in our suitcase. But Mer didn't seem to think so. So instead, we had to pay extra money to have it shipped and screw around the border and get the 3rd degree from a fellow countryman. But anyways, well, that's it for now. Chevy 2's home.
Oh, he is here.
Oh, he is here. Oh, what do you tell him? Maybe we can drive out quietly.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know how much we're going to get to this thing here. Again, it's got to be on the ship here Friday. So we'll see what we can do. We'll see you on the next one.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.